Since I've already reviewed the other two games in the trilogy, it's only fair that I review this one in order to complete the trilogy. With the original Sonic Riders being a surprise success, a sequel was inevitable. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity was announced at the Games Conference in 2007 and was released on both the Wii and PlayStation 2. The Wii version released on January 17, 2008 for Japan, January 8, 2008 for North America, February 22, 2008 for Europe, and March 1, 2008 for Australia. The PS2 version for North America, Europe, and Australia came out on the same day as their Wii counterparts. Shockingly, there was no Japanese PS2 version. This game attempts to fix the problems of the first Sonic Riders while also providing something new in return, and does it work? Yes! Yes, it does. In fact, I would go so far to say that this is my personal favorite in the entire trilogy. For how much I've defended the third game, you think that would be the one for me. Well, while I would go to that for a hell of a workout, this one has the least bumps out of all of them. Let's dive in. The game's story once again plays out from both the heroes and the Babylon Rogues side. The basic gist is that there is an old artifact known as the Ark of the Cosmos, and it's found. The Ark of the Cosmos possesses a magnetic field that lets them take a mass energy, like gravity, and they can transform it into other energy forms for more. The main thing, though, is that they can manipulate gravity in any way, hence the game's subtitle. Both the Babylon Rogues and our main heroes, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, find one each at the start of the game. Soon after, the two come into contact and dispute over who gets the artifact by, what else, racing. Eggman wants the Ark as well to power the mother computer of Meteor Tech, a company that he's been secretly running on the side that no one has known about until this game and is never referenced again in any of the mainline games, at least as far as my knowledge is concerned. The main gameplay hasn't changed all that much from the previous game. You'll still race around in a circuit track for 3 laps, or however many you set if you're doing a free race. You'll collect rings and use items and shortcuts to gain a leg up on the competition. Though while similar, Zero Gravity introduces several new mechanics to give the racing some new life. The main thing is the gravity mechanics. Instead of air, when you do tricks, you get gravity points, or GP for short. You have 2 things you can do with them, and you can't do either of these things if your bar is empty. The first, Gravity Drift, is useful when going around corners. You hit the button, and the game will go into a sort of bullet time effect while you can move freely to get around a tight corner, then release the button to slightly boost off. While you do this, any objects around will float up as if Ochako, Uravity, Uraraka herself touched them. The other thing is Gravity Dive. If you max out your bar and you activate it, a black hole will form too, and you yourself will fly straight through until your bar runs out. During this time, you can bounce off displaced objects like vehicles and signs to keep your bar slightly filled up until you can't anymore. The gear also has a new mechanic known as gear chains. Once you gain a specific number of rings, you can activate one of your gear parts. These are chosen based on the gear you use, and they will give you some bonuses when activated, both look-wise and performance-wise. Though, this does feel like a cheap way to lock the abilities of grind, fly, and punch behind them, compared to having them naturally. That's the one thing that always bugged me, because you can't use shortcuts right away. It's not too hard to get them, but it's a minor annoyance. The last major change to the gameplay is the trick system. It's been reworked. Rather than holding down the button and releasing at the last moment, you'll just press the jump button at the closest point on the ramp before you can't press it. The closer you are, the better ranking your trick will be. You also can't freely rotate unlike the last game, so while you do have less control over the tricks, it's much simpler to pull off. And that's probably the best way to sum up the gameplay. It's a bit simpler and less intense. In particular, the game isn't as fast as its predecessor, but the game's rubber banding AI has also been reduced. It makes the game less frustrating since you aren't fighting so much to get ahead, only to have one mistake hurt you to where you can't get back into first place. It's still not easy, but it's easier. The fastness being reduced probably was done to accommodate the gravity features, which are pretty fun to play around with, and the gravity drift can be used to access some rideable walls and shortcuts in addition to swinging around corners like nothing. 3 new gears join the fray as well, in addition to boards, bikes, and skates. You have air rides and yachts, which can fly through dash rings, and wheels, which can knock heavy objects away. They respectively resemble hovercrafts, windsurfboards, and monowheels. Not only is it less difficult to master, but it provides something a bit different that can still make the game stand out on its own, even for those who never played the first game. So not only does the gameplay feel less brutal, but the game also looks the part. The graphics do look pretty good for being a sort of transition title. You can't help but wonder how it would look on a PS3/Xbox 360, but for the most part, the game looks fine. Models are a step up over the original game, environments have more detail, but still retain the cartoon feeling of the Sonic universe, and the stage designs are also pretty unique, and they mix some futuristic feelings into areas you wouldn't expect. You've got full futuristic cities, jungle areas, robot factories, first and third just being straight up futuristic. And what would a Sonic Riders game be without some good old Sega nostalgia stages? 80s Boulevard, and especially 90s Boulevard. Seriously, this stage made me love Sega more than I did when I first played this game. Board and gear designs fit the game well, and the new gears fit right in. Between the two versions, the Wii version looks better. The PS2 version seems to suffer from more aliasing, worse looking textures, and the PS2 version does have more slowdown, but the water is more realistic here, and there is an expanded tutorial, but it also doesn't support widescreen. If you have both consoles, get the Wii version. The game also controls well, but do note the Wii version has 3 control schemes. The first is holding the Wii remote sideways like an NES controller. You'll tilt left and right to turn, and do a slight shake up to activate gravity dive. It's simple to grasp and it works. The second control scheme has you holding the Wii remote normally, long ways, and you use a pointer to turn on the screen. It makes turning more difficult since it's so stiff this way, and it's best not to play like this. Finally, you can use the GameCube controller, and this is probably the best way to control the game. It feels very familiar to the first and is easy to pick up. Shockingly, the game has no classic controller support. This sucks because it definitely could have been done, but oh well. The PS2 version's controls shouldn't be that much more far off from the GameCube controller. By the way, if you plug in a GameCube controller in the Wii version, your Wii remote will be disabled except for the home button. The sound is on point here as well. The music is probably the best soundtrack in the entire Sonic Riders trilogy. The songs match the tracks well as they make you feel like you're there, and the songs themselves sounds pretty good. Futuristic vibes for the robot courses, combined with other instrument riffs like violins and other things like that. And in general, the elements in the music just all blend together very well to create songs that you'll probably want to listen to off-game. The game's main themes, Ungraffiti and Catch Me If You Can, are also well done, and even some of the best music in the Sonic franchise, period. The game's sound effects are also really good. Every time you activate the gravity drift, the game's sound almost has a Matrix-like feel to it. Then when you release it, the game has whoosh-like sound effect that sounds impactful. It almost makes you feel like you're in control of it all. All other sound effects like grinding, jumping, landing, and all of that sounds pretty good. Even the menu sound effects are cool. Not a lie. Hint, hint, game dude. The voice acting is also pretty good. I feel the Boy Kids voice actors took a couple years to really come into their own, but I think they're really on game here, even if for some the voices don't sound ideal. That was never my issue with them. Regardless of how you feel about the voices, the delivery is fine for the most part and fits the game's tone. There's quite a bit of replayability in this game. Aside from buying gears in the shop with rings that you earn in-game, there's also a mission mode once you fully beat story mode that will take you quite a while to beat. Believe me, I know it did for me. It's worth it because it unlocks 3 bonus Sega characters in addition to the other standard array of unlockable characters. Knights, who returns from the previous game, and new here, Billy Hatcher from Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, and Amigo from Samba de Amigo, with pretty much all 3 Knights, Billy Hatcher, and Samba de Amigo all being, well, Sonic Team developed games. There's also local multiplayer racing, and battle mode returns. Survival is your atypical last man standing mode where you attack with missiles via gravity control. Survival relay, where 2 teams relay race with extreme gears the baton, and survival ball, Use gravity control to launch balls through hoops. There's definitely a decent mix of stuff here, and it will keep you coming back for more. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity takes what worked about the first game, improves upon it, gets rid of what doesn't work, adds new features that improve the gameplay, and just does what a good sequel should do. It looks good, sounds great, controls fine for the most part, has plenty of content and replayability, and is just an overall fun game to play. However, the PS2 port isn't as smooth as the Wii version. The Wii version's vertical remote control is awful, and not having classic controller support, despite supporting GameCube controllers, is annoying. It's partially also, not just with this game, but other games on the Wii. The game might not be as challenging and fast-paced as the first for people who want that, and no online multiplayer is a bit of a letdown. But the game still has a lot of good. Also, something Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow never wear the glasses/goggles over their eyes while racing. If I ever revisit these games, I make no promises about not referencing this in the future. Yeah, forget the gloves, game dude. The glasses and the goggles are where it's at. If you have to play one Sonic Riders game, play this one. Unless you want a hell of a workout, then go for 3. Regardless, you'll be in for a good time with this one. I give Sonic Riders Zero Gravity a 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click the big red button below to subscribe. Check out the other links in the description for more cool stuff, and check out the playlist on screen for more content. See you in the next video.